Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the 2025 BMW M2. Huge shout out to Hendrick BMW Charlotte for providing this sports car for me today. Take a look at their website, that link is down in the description. This M2 is finished off in Brooklyn Gray Metallic. MSRP is just over $68,000. Now this model is powered by the 3-liter twin power turbo inline 6. It's also paired to the 6-speed manual transmission, pumping out 453 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque. That power sent to the rear wheels, propelling this 3,700-pound sports car from 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. It has a top speed of 177 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 13.7 gallons. You'll expect to see around 16 miles per gallon in the city, 24 out on the highway. This also has a wheelbase of 108.1 inches. Its overall length is 180.3. It has a width of 81.4 and a height of 55.2 inches. Now for the exterior styling for the 25-year model, there's only a few subtle changes. The main difference is the badging. So you'll notice that the M2 logo now has that surround for the M and the 2. Everything else is nearly identical. So it has that boxy grille design to it, still retaining that kidney grille, but we have some very squared off edges. There's also plenty of cutouts with a lot of gloss black there to provide additional cooling. Now there's LEDs up front with the dark housings, which blend in nicely. Parking sensors are in the lower section, and then more of that box and square design for the inlets on both sides, as well as the entire middle section there, where there's a lot of cutouts to provide additional cooling. And then there's some very subtle lines that come down the hood. Now as we work our way to the side, this has a very nice set of gloss black wheels. There's also the M Sport brakes. They are finished off in blue, where this gets 6-piston calipers up front, single piston in the rear. There's also the body-colored side mirrors that have the turn signal on them. This model has the sunroof as well, more gloss black for all the window trim, and a very nice side design to it. You'll notice too with the lower side skirt there, it bulges out slightly along with the fenders for both the front and rear, giving it almost that wide body appearance just with all the squared off edges, which I think gives it a great look. Now in back, there's a very small body colored spoiler. The M2 badge is finished off just like up front with that surround there. There's the dark housings for the LEDs, backup camera with the parking sensors, and then that quad tip dual exhaust with more gloss black for that entire diffuser. Now you can use the button on the key fob or the control underneath to gain access to the cargo space, where you have quite a lot of space. For this sports car, it's also very practical as well. So you can fit in items. You can also fold down the back seats. So pull on that tab on the left side as well as on the right side, and that will give you a lot more interior storage to place in some larger items. So not only do you have a performance-oriented coupe, but you have a daily driver as well. So you could use this as your only vehicle. Now, as we take a look at the interior, the biggest change is the addition of the flat bottom design for the steering wheel, which I know a lot of people will like. Now for the door panel here, there's the really cool intricate pattern on the back side, memory seating adjustments. Harman Kardon is the audio system. There's also this intricate pattern on the back section there. There's your window controls, side mirror adjustments, trunk release, and then even more storage down below. M2 is also down on the door sill, and then take a look at the bucket seats with the M2 badge up top and then blue and red. Very interesting to see, but a nice sport bucket seat with all the automatic adjustments, and then the one manual adjustment is for the leg support there. Now this is a 4-seater, so if you just pull on this tab and push that backrest forwards, the seat will actually work its way forwards, allowing you space to get into the back. Now you're not buying this for a full 4-seater, but at 5'10", I honestly don't have that tight of an area here to sit in. You have air vents in the middle. There's also a little bit of storage in between the riders or your passengers. And then at my height, I am touching the headliner here, but it's not bad if I had to ride around town. You're not going on a long road trip here, but I have the armrest and a large window here to give me a little bit more visibility. And it's also very practical for extra storage space as well. So if and when you need it, you have them, but it's also great to fold down for all of that cargo space. And then as we hop in and take another look at the flat bottom design, it has a great look to it for a sports car. This is the kind of steering wheel that you want. There's the M badge, carbon fiber as well. And then we have all the M controls too. But let's fire this up and take a listen to how the M2 sounds. And coming back to the gauge cluster now, you'll notice on the left side, there's miles per hour as well as fuel. On the right side, there's what gear you're in and the tach. Now you can also use this button over on the right side of the steering wheel to go through some content in the middle. You can pull up your setup, so how the vehicle is currently set up with the driving modes. You have your tire pressure, live readouts for horsepower and torque. There's also your media too. So that is basically it that you can scroll through. There's a lap timer as well, and then you can hide away all of that information. Also on the right side, there's your Bluetooth and voice commands. There's volume, M1 and M2 for those driving modes, and then cruise control is located on this left side. Now to the left of the steering wheel, there's all the headlight adjustments. You get one air vent with the new design for the air vent and the control there. And then as we work our way to the infotainment system, you have a lot more that you can get into. So on the home screen here, there's your navigation along with your setup. You have a few other widgets here that you can scroll through as needed. You can even add some and customize it just depending on what you would like to see. In the lower section, you can get through all of these shortcuts, including your M drift analyzer. So if you'd like to drift your M2, you can check out all of those stats. And then if you're racing, you can go into the M time lapper here where you have to make some adjustments there. There's also Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, you have driving settings, lighting that you can go into, quite a lot of apps that you can get into. There's also your climate adjustments, so you can control all of that. You can even get into your heated seats, and then your temperature dials are on both sides. And then there's a shortcut to get into the navigation and your music as well. There's carbon fiber underneath that, two air vents in the middle with that new design. There's also power and volume as well as tuning, all of your presets. More carbon fiber down below where this gets a little bit of storage with auxiliaries and cup holders there. We have the 6-speed manual, so if you push it all the way to the left and up, that is where you will get the backup camera along with the sensors on that one side, and then you have the rest of the 6 gears to go through, of course. On this left side, there's parking sensors as well as your engine start stop, and then you have the setup button. This is how you can get through M1 and M2 and customize these as needed. So you can go between Comfort and Sport Plus, depending on how you are driving the vehicle. There's also an M mode, which will actually change the gauge cluster. So if you go into Sport or Track, now you have this angle here. So you have more of your important information as well as your driving modes. There's also the exhaust note button, so you can use that as needed. There's the e-brake along with your traction control. All of these shortcuts are for that screen, so if you don't want to use it as a touchscreen system, you can just simply push on all of these. And then you have a little bit of space in the armrest along with the auxiliary there. And then the glove box also has plenty of space. And up top you have garage door buttons in your rear view mirror, and then the control for the sunshade and the sunroof, as that is power operating. And then we have a good bit of visibility over both sides here. And now it is time to get the all-new M2 out on the road. So for the test drive portion of this video, we will be hopping into a different M2 to get out on the road. Mainly what I wanted to go over before we jump into a different model is talk about this newer steering wheel, because I know this is going to be a big change that a lot of people are going to enjoy, including myself. With a vehicle like this, I would have thought BMW would put in the flat bottom design for this newer generation when it came out a few years ago. But they finally decided to do that for this 25-year model, and I really like it. Even just at parking lot speeds here, it's got a good grip to it. I've been able to drive the new 4 Series as well, which BMW has put this exact steering wheel in too. So I really like it. Maneuvering like this even is very nice. I like the bulges on both sides. And not only does it make it easier to enter and exit, but it gives it that cool factor, and it's just a really nice design. So let's hop into a different manual M2 now and see what this is like to drive out on the road. As we set off now behind the wheel for the BMW M2, we have been able to drive this before. We had a manual M2 for a solid week and did a lot of driving with that vehicle. We took it to the mountains to really check out its performance. I even took it on a 9-hour road trip with the manual transmission, it wasn't all that bad. It was a great road trip for about maybe 7 or 8 hours. It was fine. It was a great vehicle to just do a road trip like that, but it also gives you performance to really have some fun. So this is a really good blend between daily driving and having some fun with it on the mountain roads, taking it out on the track. It's also a very practical vehicle too, giving you the space in the back where we put most of our luggage, as well as having the trunk space too. But out on the road, it's a very, very fun vehicle to drive. My brother owned an automatic and a manual Toyota Supra, which is kind of similar to this. A lot of people are upgrading from the Supra to this. We have the twin turbo engine instead of the single turbo on the Supra. So we've also made a comparison between both of the vehicles, as a lot of people are fans of both of these cars. Now on my downshifts there, this does have built-in rev matching. I don't think you can turn it off, but it also sounds really good too with everything open. I have it in M2 right now, which is set up for all these sport mode settings, as well as having that exhaust on. And I think it sounds really good, but of course you can do some modifications. We have some M2 parts as well on our website, along with the Supra support. So if you have any parts for your Supra or M2, take a look at our website, brosterspeed.com, where you have endless potential with modifications for these vehicles. But let's put it into M1 now, where hopefully you could hear the exhaust go away. I'll downshift so you can hear how quiet it is. So it's a really nice vehicle depending on what you're driving. You have a few characteristics and personalities you can bring out of this car to match your driving for the day. It's very comfortable too. We have these sport bucket seats. I believe you can get the carbon fiber bucket seats in the M2. It might just be in the M4, but if you choose to get those seats, they are a lot more aggressive than these ones. These are incredibly comfortable, again, for the road trip that I did. We had the similar seats here, which were very nice to be in. But even with its suspension settings too, as far as putting it into M2 in the sport modes, it drives very nice. Now, if you're buying a vehicle like this, that's what you are buying it for. You're not buying it to be a smooth vehicle. It is, but you get that stiffer suspension too. So there's a fine line between how stiff it can get, but it's great for daily driving and of course the performance driving aspects as well. And from second gear, here we go. Now, if you want to see more performance driving, check out the video where we took the manual M2 to the mountains. So we were really able to experience its full potential in that vehicle and what the driving characteristics are like. But for today's video, as we can automatically rev match through the downshifts there, you can go through all of the gears, which I know a lot of people do like to rev match themselves. I'm a fan of doing that as well, but sometimes it is fun to let the vehicle do some of that so you can focus on some other driving. Well, this is a great vehicle to drive. I highly recommend the M2, along with the Supra as well. So we have tons of Supra content from the two that my brother has owned. They are very nice vehicles. This one is larger because we have the back seat space. So if you want something a little bit more practical, you may not use the back seats all of the time, but it's something that you would like to have there just in case. The M2 is the good option to go with, a little bit more practical, especially if this is your only vehicle. So you can fold the seats down, put in some longer items if you need to, and just have a well-rounded vehicle. It's not large, but it gives you extra space if and when you need to use it. I owned a Toyota GR86, which was a 4-seater, back seats folded down too. That was my practical vehicle. When I couldn't fit anything in my R8, I took the 86 because I had room to put items in, and it was still a fun sports car to have with that additional practicality. This is on a whole nother level with the M2 here as far as power and everything goes. And then we'll do another acceleration. It sounds so good. I do like how that exhaust sounds in the stock form. And then as far as the maneuverability goes for a vehicle like this, as we get into first gear, turning radius is pretty tight. Do have to back up a little bit here, but it's pretty maneuverable, and I like how light the clutch pedal is, especially when I drove it for about 7 hours. I didn't get tired driving it. The clutch pedal is super light and the shifter is very engaging. So it's an easy manual to drive, and one that you can drive in stop and go traffic. I know that's not everyone's preference to drive a manual in stop and go traffic, but as I did it on my road trip, you know, it wasn't all that bad. And we'll do another acceleration as we get up to speed here. And that's going to wrap it up for the 2024 BMW M2. Once again, huge shout out to Hendrick BMW Charlotte for providing this vehicle for me today. Take a look at their website, give this video a huge thumbs up, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.